What is good, people? Hope you are well, and part one of this week's YouTube. It has been, forgive that, my bag's making the seatbelt thing go off. Let me just try and lie that down a bit. It is Thursday morning. I've just been to the gym for the first time since last Friday, so I ended up taking 5 days off, which a little bit unplanned. I know I touched on last week that it's been a pretty tricky period. It hasn't got much easier. Louis, bless him, ended up with, he's got like a really swollen eye that it started on Friday, this Friday just gone, and it got a little bit worse and worse over the weekend. We took him in to see the paediatrician on Monday morning, and she prescribed us a little bit more medication. She wasn't overly concerned by it. She didn't think it was anything major. But then it didn't get any better on Monday. If anything, it flared up even more by yesterday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Started weeping a little bit as well. So we very much think that there's a little infection in there. So we got prescribed more medication, some antibiotics to go alongside an antihistamine, and also an eye cream that he already had. So the poor kid is dosed right up on medication. To be fair to him, you almost wouldn't know, like, other than obviously looking at him and it looking like he's been punched in the eye. He's actually, he's playing, his appetite's good, he's not, he's sleeping well, like nothing about his persona would suggest that there's anything wrong. He's not rubbing his eye or anything like that. So hopefully the antibiotics are going to kick in soon, and he's actually going to be able to have a little period of time where he's not got some sort of illness, because it's now been, I honestly think this is probably like the 6th week where he hasn't been fully right, just with everything that he's gone through. And it takes its toll, like it's really hard, I think, until you are a parent, and like pretty much every parent will relate to this. Before you have kids, you've only really got yourself to worry about. Like, even if you're in a relationship, you've got another half, you're grown adults, both of you can live pretty independent lives. You largely, you've only got yourself to worry about, and most people, are all right at looking after themselves. When you have a child, and especially a small child, the worry just never disappears. And it's heightened even more so when they're not very well, when they're going through periods of sickness, etc. Everything just gets completely heightened, and your mind just does not switch off. And that's what it's been like. I mean, since he's been born, like, he's had little things, but even when he's been like of perfect health, you're still very conscious that he is a baby, a toddler. Like, he can't do a huge amount for himself, and so you just naturally worry. And it's just part of parenting. But it's, it changes the way that you think, and it changes your mindset. And I think for me, it's been just one of those things. And so, as I say, like, the past probably 6 weeks has just been heightened worry around Louis not being well. I also then found out yesterday morning that my last remaining grandparent, my grandma, my dad's mum, passed away. A little bit unexpected. I mean, she was old, she's in her mid-90s. She's had an amazing life, but it wasn't something that we were expecting. My mum and dad had actually been round to see her and my auntie, my dad's sister, the night before, and I don't think there was any suspicions that would be the last time they would see her. And then she passed away yesterday morning. So that's been quite tough. Like, obviously, with me being in a different country, it makes it quite difficult just to to think about almost how you go about dealing with that. And then because she passed away unexpectedly, it's also meant that police, coroners, all of that stuff have had to get more involved. And it's probably going to delay like release of death certificate. It's going to delay the ability to have the funeral and make those arrangements. You've then got Christmas and New Year and all of that stuff going on. It's just been a little bit relentless, I must admit. My mental health has probably been a little bit in the toilet recently, and I've just tried to, I don't know, shut it off, keep quiet, try and sort of get on with stuff as best I can, because that's my way, and it's not the right way necessarily, but it's the way that I've tended to deal with stuff. I've just tried to like make sense of it in my own mind first before I'm really ready to talk about anything, and in a lot of instances I probably don't even find the words to talk about it, and I either deal with it and move on, or it just sort of sits there. But I have reached a point where I actually think getting some more professional help is the right thing for me to do at the moment. Like, life has changed a lot in the past. I mean, to be honest, in the past like 6 or 7 years. I mean, I've I left a 15-year career. I've moved countries. I've had a child. I've got married. I've moved towns, and there's a lot of big changes that have happened. And I also think there's a lot of stuff that's, I've started a business. I think there's a lot of stuff that goes back a long way in my life that maybe I've not dealt with completely, maybe I've not dealt with in the right way, maybe it's leaving some residual things in the way that I approach life that I think I could do with speaking to someone about. Fucking idiot. To make a bit more sense of them, and hopefully have methods and stuff in place to manage them, to move past them, which I genuinely believe will be better in the long run for everyone. It's obviously it's going to improve me and where I'm at and my mindset, mental health, etc. What will come with that is everyone else around me will benefit. I would like to think it's going to improve who I am as a person, as a parent, as a father, as a coach. Like, all of those things are naturally going to improve just because I'm seeking that help. It's something that I, again, like, even sort of talking about it now and like taking the responsibility and owning up to the fact that I can't do everything myself is a weird thing. Like, I've probably always been the person who has tried to do everything myself, and in a lot of cases has managed to do everything as well. I've lived a very independent life for a long time. I lived by myself for many years, had to do everything, and it's, I think I do struggle sometimes to accept help, which I maybe it's a little bit of a male mentality, but I think it's also the mentality of someone who has a bit more, I don't know, maybe a bit more ambition in life. I think there's a desire sometimes to do everything ourselves, believe that we can or should even do everything ourselves, and in some weird way, like, accepting help is defeatist or failing, where it's the complete opposite. And even if it was failing, we have to fail to learn and grow. So everything about that, should be changing. The way that I approach stuff, like I say, my mindset around things, just I think needed a little bit of needs some work, let's say. And I'm nervous about what I'm going into and what I'm starting, because I have no doubt that it's probably going to uncover some uncomfortable situations, and topics that are likely to arise that maybe I think I'm quite a self-aware person. I think I know about myself quite a lot, and I think there's a lot of stuff that I can highlight and talk about and pinpoint where I believe issues have occurred. But that's not to say professional in front of me isn't going to ask me a question or say something in a certain way that's going to pull something out of my past somewhere that maybe I'm not conscious of, or makes me feel that much more uncomfortable. But it's a necessary thing for me right now, and like I say, I have reached that point where I feel that there's a time and a place for this stuff to happen, and for me, I think that time and place is right now. So that is going to kick off very, very soon. As I say, it's been a tough sort of pre-Christmas period with Louis not being very well, with the passing of my grandma now, with just generally life feeling a bit heavy. But I'm taking steps to improve those, and as I say, I'm looking forward to it. I'm nervous, I'm hesitant, I'm scared of what it might be, but it's something that needs to happen. So anyway, I am almost home from the first session in almost a week. Felt really good. It was a nice push session. To be honest, it probably did me a lot more good mentally than maybe it did physically. I'm still carrying a couple of little niggles that didn't quite completely disappear with the 5 days off the gym. Definitely they eased, so I'm going to try not to flare them up too much as I'm getting back into the gym, but I really needed that session for my head. I really needed to just get the headphones in, move some weight around, and not really think about anything too much for an hour and a half, and it's definitely allowed me to do that, which is, as I say, a massive positive. So almost home, and yeah, we'll keep these updates coming as the week goes on. What is good, guys? I'm going to keep this one relatively short and sweet because it is a pretty manic time trying to get ready for Christmas, but there's a lot of information and stuff in that last part that I've just shared. This one I'm primarily just going to share. I'm going to pop the pictures up so you can have a little look at those and just see where we're at 25 weeks into the growth phase. So pretty much 6 months in, and actually really happy. Again, a largely stable week when it comes to the weight, about 0.3 of a pound up on average. So really not a lot. And an opportunity for me now to just have a little break from the gym. It has been a very difficult December. To be fair, it's probably going to have been a difficult November and December with Louis bouncing from illness to illness. I also found out that I lost my grandma last week. She was the last grandparent that I had left, so that's been a really funny one to deal with. And this time of the year is never nice for that kind of stuff, and so all of like funeral arrangements, trying to think about when we can get back, trying to not be a burden on other people to arrange it around us. It's been a lot, but anyway, it is Christmas time, so I hope everyone has an absolutely amazing Christmas. I will be back again, as usual. I'm really trying to stick to these being weekly because I do actually enjoy doing them. They're a nice way for me to just share a little bit more. Hopefully, again, you guys are really enjoying like what I'm doing and me giving you a bit more info. But any questions, as always, please do let me know. But have the most amazing Christmas, and I will see you all on the other side.